Podcasting stores energy as mass. So basically, we convert 6 grams of mass into pure audio every second and spit it back out at you.
Welcome to Science Fiction Book Club, a podcast for bookworms and stargazers. In every episode, we dive into the pages of our favorite science fiction novels to break down the big ideas, ask the nerdy questions, and maybe, just maybe, learn a little bit about ourselves along the way. I'm Opsa, and as always, I'm joined by... who are you again? I've completely forgotten.
Beep boop bop bop beep boop.
That's right. I'm joined by the 5-limbed of Muzafar.
The Iridian. The 5-limbed Iridian. Wow. We're finally doing it. We're finally talking about Project Hail Mary.
That's right.
This has been on the schedule for like over 6 months now. Basically ever since the movie got announced and that first teaser trailer dropped.
Yeah.
You and I obviously decided like, okay, of course, we need to cover the book.
We knew we would cover it.
We knew we would cover it, and obviously we're doing this in preparation for the movie. You have read the book before, right?
Yes. I've actually read a couple of his books. I haven't read The Martian, which obviously has also been turned into a movie, but
yes.
I've read Artemis, which I won't spoil, but perhaps I enjoyed.
There we go. So I, on the other hand, have never read Andy Weir before. I've never seen the Martian movie. I've never read the book. Haven't read Artemis. This is my first experience with Andy Weir and my first time reading Project Hail Mary. So I'm excited to get into it. I think we might have some controversial thoughts coming up on the episode today, but there's a lot to say. So I think before we dive in, Opsa, let's take care of some quick housekeeping and talk about what the game plan for today's episode is, and then we'll get into it. Starting, of course, with our spoiler warning. Folks, it's in the title. We're covering the first 15 chapters of Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Before you continue listening today, make sure you have done the assigned reading.
And as always, we encourage you to read along with us and share your thoughts, so email us at sci-fi bookclubpod@loreparty.com. Join the Patreon at patreon.com/sci-fi bookclubpod. We post free reading guides, discussion questions, bonus clips, bloopers, all that good stuff on that Patreon. And it's also where you can find our Discord, where we like to keep these nerdy sci-fi discussions going with fellow readers in our community. And of course, all those links are in the show notes, so no need to scramble to write those down. Just check out the episode on whatever platform you're listening on.
That's right. Okay, housekeeping out of the way. Quick overview for the game plan today. Same as every other book club episode, we'll start by summarizing the assigned reading. Again, that's the first 15 chapters of this book, the first half of the book. Then, Opsa, you and I will share our first impressions and our feelings on the story so far. And then finally, to wrap up today's episode, we're going to be diving into our meta. Whenever we start a new book, we like to look at the author's career and the publication history of the book and how we got here. And so we'll be doing that today for Andy Weir and Project Hail Mary. But before we get into all of that, let's take a quick break. Folks, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're figuring out this astrophage problem.
That's right. Welcome back, listeners. And as always, let's start with a brief summary, beginning with the first 4 chapters of Project Hail Mary. We begin with our boy, who is, as yet unknown to himself and to us, but has woken up on a spaceship, completely amnesiaed, with 2 corpses for company.
Oh.
He's got no idea who he is, where he is, or why there are these dead bodies floating around. There's just a disembodied voice asking him questions to test his wherewithal, and a robot arm that keeps him fed. Through memories that come back in flashes, he eventually does piece together the catastrophe.
Right.
There's a microorganism called astrophage that's basically eating Earth's sun. He eventually remembers his name, Ryland Grace, and his whole backstory. He was a researcher who got completely destroyed by the scientific community for publishing a paper claiming that life could evolve without water.
Ludicrous.
And so
Ludicrous.
ludicrous, absolutely ridiculous. And a career over, credibility shot. He ends up going to teach junior high school. But then Astrophage shows up and suddenly Grace is seemingly vindicated. Everyone assumes something living on the sun couldn't possibly have water. The scientific community comes crawling back, and Grace becomes naturally central to this crisis response.
Right.
Bit of a plot twist. It turns out Astrophage does actually have water. And unfortunately for him, Grace is the one to discover this.
Right.
He also, interestingly, figures out how astrophage reproduces. They migrate between the sun and Venus at near light speed, using Venus's CO2 atmosphere to breed. They also store energy by converting it directly into mass, equals mc squared, but backwards, which makes them the perfect rocket fuel.
And fuel the rocket they shall.
That's right.
Let's talk about our next couple chapters here. In chapters 5 and 6, we're sort of continuing the cadence of this book, which is basically Grace exploring more of the ship and learning more of the context of how he got here as he experiences these flashbacks, as the memories all sort of come flooding back to him. We learn in these chapters that the Hail Mary, the ship that he's on, is on a suicide mission to Tau Ceti, to an entirely different solar system. Tau Ceti's star is somehow not affected by the astrophage. Grace's mission is to crack the code of Tau Ceti and why it's immune to astrophage, and use probes to send that information home and then die alone out here in space. There is no return mission for him.
It's a one-way flight.
Now, things are dire back home on Earth, too, because the timeline is tight. We're cutting it real close with the sun dying, which will have catastrophic effects on Earth's environment and thus on the economy and the society at large. Many humans will die, starvation, all of those things. The current estimates are that mass starvation and the start of human extinction could begin as early as 19 years from the discovery of astrophage, but the round trip to Tau Ceti is going to take 26 years. So Strat and the other leaders of Earth decide, mostly Strat, honestly, she's doing most of the thinking.
It's all Strat.
It's all Strat. They decide to nuke Antarctica and release some of the trapped methane to essentially create more artificial global warming. This will ideally buy some time. It's not a solution. It's a real tiny band-aid for a gaping wound, but that's the best they can do at the moment, to buy enough time for Grace to get to Tau Ceti and find a solution. Now, Grace learns why he woke up with amnesia, with 2 dead bodies nearby. Him and his 2 other fellow astronauts on this mission were put into medically induced comas for the 4-year journey out to Tau Ceti. And only a certain number of people who have this super rare genetic marker could even survive this long-term coma without coming out the other side with severe brain damage. And evidently, Grace was one of those people. The other 2 astronauts with him also would have had this genetic marker, but for one reason or another, some sort of accident, his fellow astronauts perished. He is alone out here. Now, just as he's processing everything and waiting for the engines to cut off so that he can begin doing research on Tau Ceti's Petrova line, this line that indicates the astrophage at work, he spots something. This is crazy. He spots something super close, relatively speaking, when you're talking space terms. There's another spaceship, an alien spaceship that is perfectly matching his velocity. The spaceship has pulled up next to him in the lane and is practically rolling its window down.
That's right, revving its
trying
engine.
To say hello, revving its engine, right? The red light's going to turn green any second. So this, of course, is a huge twist. Grace is about to make contact with alien life.
That's right. And seemingly intelligent alien life.
Yes.
Moving on to our next few chapters, 7 to 9, we find Grace and the alien beginning to communicate at a distance using the flashes from their engines. Grace flashes effectively an SOS, or just kind of a signal, and the aliens on the other ship mirror it back. So clearly they are sentient and aware and responding to him and attempting to communicate. And it's clear that they've also got astrophage propulsion.
Whoa.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They end up sending him a cylinder made of xenonite, which seems impossible to him. It's a noble gas, and you shouldn't be able to meld it into metals. But apparently, that's exactly what they've done. And inside, they've constructed a bit of a star map that shows that they're from 40 Eridani and that they're also facing the same crisis. The cylinder is itself scorching hot and it reeks of ammonia, and Grace basically realizes that these aliens live in conditions that would be completely inhospitable to humans. Insane temperatures, they breathe ammonia, their biology is clearly completely different, and as it turns out, this eventually vindicates Grace's original thesis that life could evolve without water.
Rocky is living proof.
That's right. And they soon figure out a way to connect their ships with a physical tunnel. Grace is terrified, obviously, but desperate, so he agrees. And the tunnel that's connecting the two of them has on the alien spaceship side a number of hexagonal panels. And it's clear that the aliens in Grace's theorizing are attempting to test which of those materials could bond with Grace's aluminum hull.
Yeah.
And soon he hears a few knocks from the other side.
Oh.
And for the first time in human history, Grace is about to meet intelligent alien life face to face.
Oh boy, that's right. Okay, so chapters 10 through 12. I'll admit, this is where the book finally got juicy for me. Grace meets who we will come to know as Rocky. Grace names this creature Rocky because of the way he looks. Rocky has 5 legs that are all radiating out from a central body. There appears to be no visible face or eyes, and Grace learns that he weighs about as much as a motorcycle. Now, their communications at the beginning are mostly trying to get through to each other, right? There's no foundation for us to actually talk, so let's build that foundation and learn what we can about each other. So, for example, Grace learns early on that Rocky perceives the world through sound instead of light. Rocky does not see things. Rocky does not have eyes. He conducts like a simple experiment. He holds up an aluminum panel and makes a hand gesture, and Rocky is able to copy that hand gesture, even though there's no way Rocky could have seen it. So that basically proves that he can quote unquote see through the metal because he perceives sound instead.
Right.
And then Rocky shares information back. Rocky sends over these molecular models. He shows Grace, for example, O2, proving that he knows Grace's atmosphere is oxygen. And then he shows a molecular model for NH3, ammonia, saying, hey, this is what my side of the airlock is full of. I'm full of ammonia. And in fact, Rocky makes it clear there's a lot of ammonia. There are 29 ammonia molecules are connected to an oxygen molecule, which is Rocky's way of saying, hey, there's a lot of pressure over here. There's 29 times more pressure on my side of the ship than yours. And essentially to kind of put this in layman's terms, Grace realizes that Rocky's environment is like living 1,000 feet underwater. That's sort of the pressure environment and also the lack of light environment that Rocky's people exist in. Now, communication quickly becomes more sophisticated between these two. They are able to share their versions of clocks with each other, and through that, they're able to calculate and convert each other's time cycles, which becomes incredibly helpful. We learned that 1 Iridian second, for example, equals 2.366 Earth seconds, Rocky also is an incredible builder, we come to learn, because he creates what Grace begins calling the square lock, basically a mini airlock within their airlock, so that they're able to send small things back and forth, samples of things to show each other. For example, Grace at one point sends a tape measure over to try and get Rocky to understand measurements, the metric system. So these chapters are preoccupied with a lot of communication back and forth. And what's really cute is, yes, these are two different species trying to build a foundation for communication and doing a lot of like scientific experimentation and sharing. But obviously there's a relationship being built here as well. And it's clear that more than just scientific interest is bringing these two intrepid explorers together. They're forming a friendship.
They're, in fact, falling in love. Not true.
That's a different book.
Different book. Yeah. But no, we also can't forget, of course, that Grace develops a kind of communication interface between the two of them, translating the sounds that Rocky makes into human language through a little program that he's written. And eventually that vocabulary grows, and they're able at some point to somewhat speak to one another through this device. So both Rocky and Grace demonstrating a lot of ingenuity and kind of creativity in confronting interspecies communication, which is super, super fascinating.
Yeah. And deep curiosity. I found that really endearing about Rocky in particular. Like Grace, we have his inner monologue. We know he's like super excited about meeting alien life and obsessed with it from a scientific perspective, from a historical perspective, all of that. But I found it very cute that Rocky also just geeking out at everything.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Which is natural. Of course you would be.
Yeah.
Especially if you immediately establish you're not dangerous and trying to kill me.
Right.
The second most natural reaction is deep curiosity. Tell me everything.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And we'll wrap up here with our last couple chapters, 13 to 15, where we learn a little bit about the tragedy that Rocky faced. It's clear eventually to Grace that Rocky is alone, and the reason for this, as Rocky eventually comes to understand, is that his entire crew of 22 died effectively from radiation sickness. They essentially never discovered that radiation exists. And the only reason that Rocky survived while his fellow astronauts all eventually perished is that he was surrounded by astrophage fuel containers in his engineering workshop.
Right.
Which effectively blocked the radiation particles.
Right. Astrophage is like a super shield. It like blocks everything.
That's right. And he obviously was desperate to figure out what was killing his crew for years, but sadly he remained the only one to survive.
Yeah. Grace
eventually also learns during this section some elements of Iridian biology. They're basically steam powered. They've got mercury blood, metallic bones, and little microscopic biological cells that do maintenance inside effectively an entirely inorganic body. When they sleep, their circulatory system cools down for repairs, which is also why they are entirely paralyzed and vulnerable while sleeping. But this does vindicate, again, Grace's original thesis that he was, pilloried for and just kicked out of academia, that life can, in fact, evolve absent water.
Incredible.
And in the last couple of chapters, Rocky also moves permanently aboard the Hail Mary, building essentially a number of xenonite habitats for himself on the ship that allow him to reside in an atmosphere that is safe and hospitable for him, but that allows him to continue to communicate with Grace and rely on the artificial gravity and other kind of conducive conditions on the ship for their science experiments. And we end on a bit of a devastating note when we come to understand that Rocky has been there Tau Ceti for 46 Earth years.
Oh my God.
Entirely alone.
Oh my God.
Just watching his crew slowly die from something he can't understand.
Right.
Trying to solve astrophage with broken equipment, and without the scientific training the 29 other crewmates, theoretically had.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And we also learn in the last few pages of this section that Rocky is in fact 291 years old.
Oh, a young lad.
Apparently, a young man, indeed. Apparently, Iridians live for centuries, and he never gave up the fight.
Wow. Amazing. Very inspiring, Rocky.
Indeed.
And that is the first half of the book. That's the first 15 chapters. Let's talk about our feelings so far.
Yes.
How are you enjoying the book, Obsa?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Lay it on
this
me.
is this has been fun so far. And I think like what I'm most appreciating is just how clearly Andy Weir loves science. He loves the science in these chapters, and just the chance to explore the ideas surrounding astrophage biology and iridian biology, the constraints of interstellar travel. There's a lot of kind of creative problem solving that we talked about in the communication hurdles that Rocky and Grace experienced.
Yeah.
All good stuff. And I think Andy Weir is good at it. He makes the science feel intuitive and graspable. He's kind of this, enthusiastic science teacher walking you through all of these mysteries and the puzzles of trying to resolve them, which is infectious. I mean, I can't deny that. It's really kind of what's most fun, I think, about the book so far for me. And I think on the other hand, I definitely want to hear your take on this as well, but I'm kind of finding Grace to be a little insufferable, personally.
Insufferable is the right word, yeah.
He's a character. I mean, not one that I personally love, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the constant quipping, the self banter. He's also just kind of obviously super genius that has been vilified by his scientific community, and suddenly the fate of humanity rests on his shoulders. It's a little tropey, I think. But yeah, I also obviously I don't want to dump on him too much, because I think he is a real archetype. Like there are people that just kind of narrate their lives in that manner, and so not exactly my cup of tea, but all in all, I think the first half of the book really fun. Kind of an adventure story with a lot of really interesting science. So I'm enjoying it. So far. Curious, anyways, how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, I definitely have the same quibbles with Ryland Grace as a main character and a main voice of this story. But I think before I get into that, I will say I'm not enjoying it so far. I do not think Project Hail Mary is for me so far. Maybe the second half of the book will entirely change my mind. I am really enjoying Rocky and the building of the relationship and friendship between Rocky and Grace.
Right.
That seems to be mostly second half. This first half has been like setup, explanation, lots of flashbacks.
Totally.
And I have found most of that unenjoyable to read, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
But I think I got to preface my thoughts. I got to preface anything I say by making it clear that I just think Andy Weir, the author, is not for me. Based off of what I'm reading so far, I am not enjoying the book, the writing style, the storytelling. Almost nothing about this book is landing for me, which feels like a very harsh thing to say.
Tell us how you really feel. Yeah.
I recognize that's a very harsh thing to say about a very popular book that is being turned into what will probably be a very popular movie.
Right.
I think that says more about me and my personal hangups than the quality of the book itself, to be very, very clear. I'm not trying to pass some sort of like ultimate judgment on this book. It's just not working for me on many levels. Let me start by at least calling out some things that I am actually enjoying quite a bit. In addition to the things that you mentioned, which I agree with. I like some of the simplifying science and making it palatable. That stuff is enjoyable for me as well. In addition to that, I'm listening to the audiobook more than I'm reading the actual book, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
The audiobook is read by an actor and professional audiobook narrator named Ray Porter, whose voice is just amazing. It's the most relaxing voice I've ever read. He does the accents for all the characters so incredibly well that at some point I double checked to make sure there weren't multiple voice actors in this audiobook. Right. No, it's just him. It's just Ray Porter doing everything. So it's incredible. If you get the chance and you're interested in reading this book, try and grab the audiobook if you can. Like, get it from your library or something. I think it's worth listening to this book. Frankly, I think it's worth listening to it more than it's worth reading it. Because I find myself kind of getting bored reading it, but I can at least be like doing chores or going on a walk while I'm listening. So I strongly recommend the audiobook as your way to enjoy this book. That personally has made it much more enjoyable for me. I think along those lines, I'm also liking that this is like a really fast-paced and light book, which makes it really easy to just like listen while I do something else. This book doesn't like require me to like sit down, block out all other noise, and just lock the fuck in.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like we have just come off of two books that required that from me. Absolutely. This is How You Lose the Time War required so many rereads and just locking in to understand.
Totally. Yeah.
The Ted Chiang short stories we covered from Exhalation were all like,
for sure.
Jesus Christ, I got to read this like
mind-blowing, puzzling, totally.
Yeah, this is not that. This is like a very straightforward, simplistic, like what's on the page is exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Adventure story. So on some level, it's a nice like palate cleanser because I can just be like doing chores and going on a walk while I listen to this, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything critical.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally plus one that. I think while reading this book, I read two other books at the same time and jumped right back in with no loss of continuity. Like I felt like, okay, I can follow exactly, where we are, what's happening. It reads pretty straightforward.
Yes, it's very straightforward. It's not, from a literary standpoint, it's not like the most dense novel or anything at all.
Right.
Which might make it a nice entry point as someone's first dip into sci-fi. If you're kind of like daunted by the big sci-fi books out there, the 3-body problems of the world, and you're like, holy shit, like I can't read this. This isn't for me. This might be your sort of midway point, entry point into that world. Okay, so those are the things I'm liking. Now, some of the things I'm disliking, all of the characters to begin with.
Oh yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
We already talked about Grace. I don't want to keep beating that dead horse. I find Grace and his inner monologue to be like incredibly grating and annoying.
Yeah.
Strat also I find incredibly annoying.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and she only exists for like 13 pages maybe total in this first 15 chapters, and just not getting much. Not getting much there,
Not getting much at all.
Yeah, and pretty like, one-dimensional.
One-dimensional, mostly there to serve as like a plot device so that there's excuses for things to happen, like nuking Antarctica. Strat is just like the Deus Ex Machina that makes those things happen. And Strat, as a person, again, at least in the first half of the book, maybe there will be more flashbacks in the back half that explain more Strat backstory. But right now, I'm like, I don't like you. You're kind of like a paper-thin nothing of a character that just pushes the plot forward. And honestly, you act really annoying and say like really annoying things all the time. I would like to read a quote. These are Strat's words, not mine. Quote, "You in what army?" Strat asked. 5 armed men in military fatigues entered the courtroom and took up station around her. "Because I have the U.S. Army," she said. "And that's a damn fine army." End quote. I literally stopped reading and I was like, Strat, shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah, I remember that moment as well. I was like, okay, maybe...
she keeps doing stuff like that. Totally. It's just annoying.
Pretty,
I don't like
pretty
Stratton.
cringy.
I don't like Ryland. I think I'm supposed to like both of them, but I don't.
Right.
Which is why a huge reason why I think this book is like just flying right past me.
Not working. Yeah.
I think, speaking of tropes, we were talking about tropes earlier, was like immediately checked out on this book because by like chapter 2, I clocked what the story was. This is one of those like quote unquote normal everyday guy, your average Joe Schmo down the street is actually the genius who has the exact talents we need to save the world.
Yeah, totally.
This is like one of those stories, right? That's Ryland Grace is just one of those guys. He's just your high school teacher, but actually he's gonna save the world. He can do all the tests on Astrophage alone.
Yeah.
He can run this fucking spaceship alone.
Right. Create software to translate.
He's coding software. He's coding language software.
Yeah. He made a universal translator just like, in his free time. Alone. Yeah, totally.
For me, I'm never going to enjoy a story like that. I do not like this, like everyday guy is this hero we all needed and we're all heroes because we're all everyday guys. I find that trope really cringy. I am just like, this is dumb. We should have sent a professional up there.
Right.
I don't like that trope. And I clocked that from like chapter 2. I even texted you and I was like, "Oops, this is going to be one of those everyday guy books." Because I'm going to be real annoyed if it is. And that's exactly
the answer
what
is
it is.
yes.
Yeah. I think something along those lines, the implausibility of everything that's happening in this book is very hard for me to get over. All of the ways that Grace is able to just do what is necessary in the moment.
Yeah.
The unrealistic ways Grace is reacting to his situation. Is it normal for him to just go, "Oh, wow, my amnesia just broke and I remembered that this is a suicide mission. I'm going to act totally normal about it now."
Right.
Would you not have a breakdown? Would you not have a mental breakdown if you woke up from a coma in space and realized you were on a one-way trip?
He's just acting totally normal. Your disbelief, Abu. It's totally normal. It's reasonable. This is just a little pill that you have to swallow.
It's just bothering me that he's like logicking his way through everything. It's not a normal human reaction to things.
Totally.
And so the implausibility of it is like, I'm all for like a out there sci-fi story that would never actually make sense in real life, but I need the characters to act like real people. And I just don't think this story is doing it. Okay, I'm really ranting and raving at this point. I'm so sorry. One last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll shut up. I'm also finding the writing style, again, Andy Weir, clearly not for me. Yeah. I find the writing style really boring and repetitive and hard for me to focus. Like I can't, that's why I can't read it. I need to listen to it. At least Ray Porter's voice is soothing. And I listen to it at like 2x speed. So we're just like getting through it real fast. If I sit down and actually pick up the book and start reading it, I like actually start dozing off because I just don't like this type of inner monologue, goofy guy style.
Totally.
There isn't a lot of like poetic prose here or sophisticated writing. It's a lot of like, okay, let me think this through.
Right.
If the pendulum swings left to right, and then we get into this like long science thing, and I'm like already bored. Right. So I just don't like Ryland's inner monologue. I don't like the way Andy Weir writes here. I don't like when he goes into teacher mode and starts like giving me a lecture on science stuff when it's already implausible that you're solving all of this. So I don't need to justify it. Just tell me you solved it and let's move on. That a lot of that is just not working for me. I'm hoping in the second half of the book, I'm a sucker for emotion. I'm hopeful the second half of the book emotionally will hit me hard enough that I can overlook the writing and plotting and characters in this book. Maybe the feels will get me enough that I can overlook all the other things that I have issues with. So that's where I'm going to wrap up my rant. Those are the major issues that I'm having that I personally am having a hard time getting over and thus having a hard time enjoying this book.
Yeah.
Whew. It feels good to get that off my chest. I've really been holding that in for the past couple of weeks while we've been reading this book. Thank you for this therapy session.
No, it's interesting. Like I I can't say I totally disagree with any of your takes there. They don't feel like hot takes per se. It'll be interesting, definitely, to hear just kind of from other readers what their initial reactions are, especially when you put this in the context of other things that we've read in this season and previous ones, books that we've got coming up down the road. Just kind of where this ranks and this is, I think we've said it, this is kind of an adventure novel. It's somewhat heavy on the sci-fi, but almost in a way that is just to kind of fill pages a little bit, perhaps, because the characters aren't necessarily so. I mean, they're clearly not landing for all of us, and the plot may be a bit predictable, perhaps. But in any case, I will say again, I'm enjoying myself. It's a very easy, casual read. I am listening to the audiobook as well, and that's definitely, I think, maybe the majority of my enjoyment as well. But I think it's a book. It's a book in the canon somewhere.
It's a book in the canon. And look, I think for what it's worth, it will be translated into an incredible movie.
I totally agree. Though I will say with the casting, Ryan Gosling. So not only is Ryland Grace just a genius, bar none, MacGyver of all skills, but he's also just a 10. You know,
that's right. He's so fuckable, and he can do science. Incredible.
Yeah, great stuff.
Okay, so those are some of our feelings and thoughts on it so far. Please, of course, share your thoughts with us. Hop into the Discord. It's free to do so. The link is down in the show notes below. Hop into the Discord, get into that Project Hail Mary channel, and please let us know your thoughts. And, you know, if y'all share your thoughts, we'll include them in our next episode. I'd love to hear from folks who love this story, what I'm missing. I fully acknowledge that maybe because of my hangups, I'm ignoring the parts of this book that other people greatly enjoy. And I would love to hear those things. So please share, email us, hop in the Discord, let us know.
Indeed.
Okay. With all of that out of the way, Opsa, let's take a quick breather. Let me get my blood pressure back down to normal. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, folks, we are going to get into the meta. We're going to talk about Andy Weir's career and how Project Hail Mary got made. So stick around for that. We'll be back in a minute.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, welcome back, listeners. And as always, we love to do a little bit of a dive into the meta behind the story and the author that has penned it. So let us jump right into that. Abu, you want to kick us off?
Yes, let's do it. Let's start by talking about Andy Weir himself. Andy Weir was born in 1972 in Davis, California. His father was a physicist, and his mother was an electrical engineer.
Okay.
So it makes a lot of sense where perhaps
that explains it.
His interest in science came from.
Totally, yeah.
His parents divorced when he was just 8 years old, and Weir was raised for most of his childhood in the Bay Area. He says he spent that childhood reading sci-fi classics, Arthur C. Clarke, Asimov, all of the ones we know and love, and also tinkering with technology, with PCs and Macs and anything he could get his hands on. He would go on after high school to study computer science at UC San Diego, but he ran out of money before he could graduate, and so he dropped out of college. He then went on to work as a computer programmer for a string of tech companies, including AOL at one point. He also worked at Blizzard, the gaming company.
Nice.
And it's during this time, his post-college dropout years, his sort of early 20s, is when he began to start writing sci-fi. And he began sharing it online. And he dabbled into a bunch of different things, actually. He wrote webcomics that he would share online. He wrote short stories. He even dipped beyond sci-fi into a bit of fantasy. And he would just be sort of publishing these things on the internet and hoping that folks would find and read them. At one point, after he got laid off from AOL and actually ended up cashing out on a decent amount of stock back when AOL was, AOL.
Ubiquitous, yeah. Totally.
He used that nice bit of cash to buy himself basically 3 years to really commit to this whole writing thing. He said,
That's
okay,
incredible.
I've been laid off. I cashed out with a bunch of money. I'm going to give myself a 3-year runway to get published as an author. 3 years pass and he does not get published as an author. He doesn't get any interest for his first full novel that he wrote, which was called Theft of Pride. And by 2002, his self-imposed runway had run out. And so he went back to his career. He got another job as a computer programmer and just kept doing that.
If I'm understanding that timeline correctly, he cashed out from AOL in 1999.
Correct.
Just before the 2000 .com bubble burst. So
Correct.
that was very well timed.
Yes.
I applaud you, Mr. Weir.
Yes. Yeah, if you're doing the math
prescient.
there, folks, 3 years before 2002, 1999, right
that's
before the
pretty good.
.com bubble burst.
That's pretty good.
So yeah, that AOL cash money must have been pretty nice.
Yeah, totally. Well, in any case, Weir kept up his writing. He continued sharing it online and grew a small but mighty following. In 2009, he began posting The Martian chapter by chapter.
Okay.
Eventually, readers requested that he collect it into a single novel, and so he used Amazon's
Come on.
And so
I
he
know
used
what you're gonna
Amazon's
say.
Kindle self-publishing
Come
to release
on.
The Martian for just 99 cents.
No!
Incredible.
Oops, it's another self-published success story.
I don't know what to say at this point. How many of these have we come across? This is incredible. And it turns out the novel, of course, sold like pancakes. Like pancakes? Like hotcakes?
Hotcakes?
35,000 copies
Some
in
sort of
just
cake.
4 months. Some sort of cake. And it made its way onto the sci-fi bestseller charts in 2013.
Wow.
Of course, from there, it caught the attention of a Hollywood producer, and his wildest dreams came true. The film was adapted by Ridley Scott, none other than...
Shit.
Just shocking. Starred Matt Damon.
Oh
I'm
my
sure
God.
many of us have seen this movie.
Yeah.
And it was released in 2015 to huge critical and commercial success.
Yeah, wow.
Of course, he was able to finally quit his programming job and become a full-time writer, and he has been ever since.
Wow, what a success story. That is the
Totally.
self-publishing dream right there. My
Yeah.
goodness. I mean, look, he nose to the grinder. We got to give him credit where credit's due. He was out here writing for a decade
Totally.
plus before this
Yeah.
happened. But my gosh, when lightning struck, it struck.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about his life after the success of The Martian. Weir then began writing his next project, which was at the time titled Zek. And he described it like this in a Reddit AMA that I found. He said Zek was a, quote, more traditional sci-fi novel. It has aliens, telepathy, faster than light travel, etc. End quote. So he was maybe leaning a bit away from the quote-unquote harder sci-fi that obviously is present in Project Hail Mary and in The Martian as well. But it turns out he abandoned that project. He abandoned Zek and instead pivoted to what would become his second novel, Artemis, which you have read, Obsa. And Artemis was released in 2017. This is very, from my understanding, very in line with Martian and Project Hail Mary, right? Like sort of a lot of science, a lot of physics, a lot of the things that Andy Weir clearly has a passion for.
Totally.
And wouldn't you know it, the film rights to Artemis were quickly bought up in 2017, and an adaptation has slowly been in the works ever since. kind of going through the Hollywood paper mill. We haven't seen the adaptation yet, but it's out there. The rights have been bought up. That finally leads us to Weir's third novel, the very novel we are covering today on the show, Project Hail Mary, which was published in May of 2021. Project Hail Mary is yet again another critical and commercial success for our boy Andy Weir. It was nominated for the 2022 Hugo for Best Novel. It did lose that year to A Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine, which won in 2022. A novel that I do think, side note, we should maybe cover on the show at some point.
Probably cover, yeah. Totally.
I'd be interested to... I read it a long time ago. I listened to the audiobook and walked away mostly confused and unsatisfied. That feels like a novel that I need to slowly and deliberately
revisit.
Revisit.
I think Arkady also wrote a memory called Empire. Am I remembering that correct or no?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I think A Desolation Called Peace is part of that series.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's part of the Memory Called Empire series.
Cool.
Anyway, back to Project Hail Mary. Another one of Project Hail Mary's accolades is that former President Barack Obama, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, put her on his 2021 summer reading list.
Nice.
So it's really up to you, dear listener, to decide which one of those nominations is the one you want.
A greater accomplishment. Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I want to be put on Obama's to-read list or to-listen list.
Not surprising it was the summer reading list. I mean, this is kind of a beach read, you know. It's like a quick, light, easy, doesn't require all of your brain cells necessarily to be firing, but it's fun.
That's right. Yeah. It's a nice, easy, casual read. And of course, to wrap up the meta here, as we have mentioned, the book is being adapted into a film starring Ryan Gosling. And Project Hail Mary, the film, will be released very soon in March 2026. In hopes that you and I, of course, will be going to see that film. And yes, dear listener, we will be releasing a bonus episode on this podcast, sharing our thoughts and our review of the film adaptation.
Indeed. Looking forward to it.
It looks gorgeous.
Totally. All right, listeners, for our next episode, as we have reached the end of this one, please make sure.
That is how time works.
That's how time works.
Alas, there's no escaping one moment to the next.
But do make sure you've read the remainder of this book. We covered this in 2 parts, so that's chapters 16 through 30. That's the second half. And we'll be completing that just in time for the film, which, as we said, we'll be covering as well. And you can, of course, find our entire season's reading schedule in the show notes.
That's right. Well, friends, is this worth risking your life over? Yes, unequivocally. Is it worth risking the lives of everyone on Earth? Also, yes. So take that risk and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. 5 stars only, please. And be sure to check out the other shows on the Lore Party Podcast Network on loreparty.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at lore_party. And of course, we are also on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's still worth it.
Is that interspecies love? Is that what we're talking about?